Good evening. It is Tuesday, July 9th, 2024, and coming to you from Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Tacoma, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
We don't pay those fans enough.
I didn't know we were paying them anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. that's why it's not enough, clearly. And they're here all the time. They always show up, regardless of how hot it freaking is outside. Or inside, even, for that matter.
Inside.
Yeah, it's pretty warm in here. So, yeah. Is it warm in Denver?
Not that warm. We're getting all that stuff in a day or two.
Gotcha.
It's on its way.
Okay.
But it's not here yet.
Well, you're not missing anything.
Well, I know. But at least I have AC.
Well, that's good. That is
My
good.
whole house will be cool.
Yeah. The portable units work good for sleeping, but the house doesn't have AC in general. So this room doesn't get it. So it just sits in the dark all day, Shades are drawn and the lights are all off, and we're just trying to get it to stay cool. By the natural, cool in the morning, and then shut it all up, board it up. Doesn't work. It's probably 80 degrees in here, 82, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's pretty warm.
Just that time of the year where you wear more tank tops inside than you're expecting to.
yeah, that's for sure. And I don't normally wear tank tops anyway, so there's that. We got a lot of things to talk about. There's a number of things. We want to talk about Formula One today. We're going to talk about the NBA and some free agency. We're going to talk about the NFL and a couple of things. The NHL. I've got NHL news. And then if we have time, we'll talk about the U.S. men's national team and their exit from the Copa America, which was. But first, we want to start with the trivia question, which you say you have, because I did not prepare one. I am unprepared for this show. So if you've got a trivia question, let's have you read it.
Okay. So my trivia question, since they just named all the MLB All-Stars and things like that, is MLB All-Star Game related. Okay. And it's 5 players have been named All-Star Game MVP twice. Who are those 5 players?
Holy crud. That's a tough question.
And one of them's still active, and the other 4 are not. And they span the farthest to go player started playing in the MLB in 51, and the other one's still current.
Right. So yeah, that's tough. Those go way back.
I am able to give hints if need be.
Okay.
Like I could, and it can be however you want. We can do positions, or we can do teams they played for. But let's just start with the farthest back person. All right, and the first hint I'll give you is he started. And I told you already, he started in 51.
So the furthest back, he won the All-Star Game MVP twice.
2 times in his career.
So I want to say someone like Willie Mays.
That is correct. Willie Mays is the first one.
Okay, good.
Nailed that one.
Yes.
All right, moving on to person number 2.
Okay.
This person started in 69, played till 87.
Oh. Okay. Pete Rose.
No.
Oh.
Close. I can give you a position if you'd like.
No, hold on. Okay. I mean.
Or I can give you teams. I don't know which would be easier or better.
He played until 87. Is that what you said?
87. Yep.
So he played for 18, 19 years. He played a long time.
He played for 2 teams in that time.
Right. Okay. All right. And okay, I'm gonna need another hint. Is it a pitcher?
It is not.
Okay, good.
No.
Because they don't normally win the MVP, but
yeah, it really seems like they steer towards hitters.
Yeah. Okay. So played most of his career in the 70s then, right? He played all the way through the 70s.
Yeah, he played all the way through the 70s.
Probably,
and that was the bulk. Well, 70s and
into
80s. The late 80s was the bulk of his his high points.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Give me something. Give me a position.
Right. So he's listed at 2 positions, first baseman and third baseman, but it looks like he played first baseman majority of his career.
Ooh.
Actually, sorry. It looks like he played third baseman most of his career.
George Brett.
No.
Oh, damn it. That's a tough one.
Yeah, these are all kind of tough, but I think that I don't know.
Because that's not an easy. I mean, then I would want to say I don't know someone like Paul Molitor or, yeah. See, I don't know. I don't know who that one is.
All right, so this guy's two teams he played for were the Dodgers from 69 to 82, and then the Padres from 83 to 87.
Oh, Garvey.
Garvey, that's correct. Steve Garvey.
Steve Garvey.
So he won it twice. All right, next person. This person started in 74 and played till 92.
Okay.
He was officially listed as a catcher and a right fielder.
A catcher and a right fielder.
That's right.
Oh, wow. I wonder how much catcher he actually played. Or if he was actually a catcher who played a right field one day.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because what I'm looking at, like at his like position, like with the teams he was on, because he was on a couple teams. It mostly catcher, and then a couple of like third bases, and then like one or two outfield. Like there's a 7 right there, so there's right field. But yeah, it's very interesting. He mostly catcher though.
A catcher from the 80s into the 90s, but played in the 70s.
His big successful period was 79 to 88.
Wow, there's a lot of good catchers though during that time frame. I don't, that would be tough. Gary Carter.
That's correct, Gary Carter.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, nailed that one.
Throwing it out. Well, he got enough clues. I can narrow it down somewhat, but.
Well, some of these are really hard. Okay, so the next person, the fourth person to do it, his first year was 81, and he played to 2001. I'm not gonna say anything else. See if you can get it just based off of that. 81, 2001. He's really famous.
81 to 2001, and he's two.
So that's a long career.
All-Star Game MVP. Well, yeah, that's 21 years technically.
And he only didn't make the All-Star Game 2 years of his career. The first two.
Oh. It's not Tony Gwynn, is it?
It's not Tony Gwynn.
Okay, because I think he started playing earlier than that. Can't remember when he retired. I don't think he played 21 years. He played less than that. Wow. 81 to 2001. And there's too many players that fall into that category. All right.
Fair enough. Position. The bulk of his career, he played shortstop.
The bulk of his career, he played shortstop. Is Cal Ripken?
Cal Ripken. That's the one.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I was like,
81
to 2001 with only 2 years not making the All-Star. I was like, there's probably not that many guys who've done that, but it's still a lot of people out there.
Right.
All right, and then the fifth person to do it, and this is the only person that is still actively playing. Oh, crap, the way it just came up, it didn't pull up. All right, he started in 2011, and he's only been not selected to the All-Star game 2 years. His first year and this year.
2011. Huh. Okay. I'm starting to think of how old some of these guys are.
Yeah.
To know if they, if it's someone like, when did they start playing? See, that's tricky because that sounds like that's 11 years.
He's played his entire career with one team. He has never left.
Oh, geez. Mike Trout.
Mike Trout is correct.
Woo! There we go.
Yeah, I didn't even have to tell you the position or
no.
I mean, how many guys really play their entire career with
that
one
was
team?
That was the giveaway. It was he played his entire career with one team was the giveaway because there was a lot of players that I could have probably thrown out there, but Mike Trout's the only person I know, honestly, that has only played for one team in 11 years.
Yeah. He's only missed the All-Star game twice. That's crazy.
I think once was injury. It was injury year, and I think this year he hasn't been healthy all year. I don't know, but that's.
Well, that once was his first year.
Yeah. Well, it could be. It could have been when he was rookie. I guess that's true, but he probably is still good enough. Just rookies don't make it that often.
That's very true.
They give and the fan voting has a lot to do with it. When you're a rookie, no one knows you, so that makes it a lot harder. That was good. That was a good set of questions. Those are tough. The baseball has so many players and so many good players and so many players that fall under those categories when you say, oh, that he was two-time All-Star game. Well, it's five guys, right? So what the question I was looking at was a different question actually, but we'll say, well, maybe I should save it for another time. But I was looking at which players had won NBA championships with multiple teams.
Ooh,
Because free agency's
probably quite
here,
a bit.
and how what's the record for number of championships on how many different teams? What's the record for number of different teams? I guess was the question. So hold on to that.
It's got to be like DeMarcus Cousins.
Hold on to that thought for next week.
Okay.
So we'll throw that out next week because we're going to talk about free agency today. Let's talk about Formula One because that happened. I don't even know. Lewis Hamilton won his record 9th British Grand Prix. He is the only Formula One driver ever to win 9 times at a single circuit. But he also has been racing for a long time. You don't think of him as being that old, but he's been racing for decades, right? This is his third decade of racing. You only need 12 years to get 3 decades, but still, he's been doing this for a long time. This is his 104th F1 victory. Right. So anyway, it was an emotional thing for Lewis. He was crying at the end. You could hear him on the radio. He was choked up. It was a big deal for him because I don't think he thought he would get back to this point. He's leaving Mercedes and going to Ferrari next year, which might be a gigantic mistake. Judging by the way,
maybe they'll let him duck out of that contract.
I don't know. It might be just a gigantic mistake.
Ferrari doesn't want him to duck out of the contract. But no, Mercedes will.
Yeah. So it's been that way. He beat Max Verstappen by 1.4 seconds. It was a much bigger lead until the end there when they all came into pit and Verstappen went on the hard tires. Hamilton was on the soft tires. Verstappen made up a lot of time over the last however many laps. I don't know, 10 laps or so. He made up a lot of time. The race just wasn't long enough. He was too far back to begin with. The big loser was Lando Norris in all this, right? Who they left out an extra lap and pitted Piastri. Yeah. And then they put Piastri on medium tires and they put Norris on soft tires. I think because Hamilton went on soft tires, they decided, well, you're going to need soft tires to catch up with him, right? But the medium tires were better. They were actually doing better. The soft tires didn't last very long once they got back out there. And definitely Lando Norris's tires weren't good enough to catch up. So McLaren kind of let one slip through their fingers, in my opinion. Did you watch it? Did you watch the whole race?
I did.
Yeah.
Watched the whole race.
Yeah. That was an exciting race, was it not?
It was pretty darn good. It was exciting for not having any accidents.
Yeah.
Which is unusual. Usually the accidents cause like the congestion, the excitement, the red flags and things like that. And that's where you get like another chance at like winning and stuff. So for that all happening, yes, it was, or for that not happening, it was very exciting to watch. I do think you're right. I think McLaren had a pretty clean look at first, maybe even first and third. Yeah. And they let it slip away with some pit management. They got to fire those guys they brought over from Ferrari.
Yeah,
just get rid of them.
It was a boring race at the beginning, and Russell and Hamilton took off, and they kind of left Verstappen behind. He was 3 or 4 seconds back.
He was struggling all weekend,
and yet he was still ahead of the McLarens for a while. You know what I mean? Right. Until they slowly started catching him, and then he was at one point in 6th. Max was. He was in 6th place, but it was the rain came 20 lap 17 18 19 20 somewhere in that ballpark. The rain starts falling. That first little shower that they all ran through, they didn't stop. That was like lasted like 3 laps or 4 laps, and no one pitted except the people at the back. Did you notice that at the end of that little rain shower, the people at the very back, Charles Leclerc, no, not Charles Leclerc, it was Charles Leclerc, they put intermediates on him, and they put on Ferrari doing their thing. And Sergio Perez, right? These guys went to intermediates and they regretted it instantly because they were losing like 30 seconds a lap.
Yeah,
because
it was staying too dry despite the rain.
And then the second set of rain comes down, the heavier set, and then you could see once it started doing that, there was lane change or lead change after lead change. It was just boing, boing, boing. People were
Yeah.
leapfrog because the guy would get out in front, not know how hard or how fast he can carry the corner, and you don't have a guy in front of you slipping to tell. You know what I mean? The guy behind has the advantage because you can see what the driver in front of you, what his car is doing. You know, he goes in hard and fast, and he slips and wiggles. You can slow down a hair. But yeah, so the people behind it was just a leapfrog thing. And at one point, both McLarens were 1-2. And I thought that's how that was gonna play out. I thought, well, McLaren's had the speed, they got things going, and then they mucked it all up. But and then George Russell had to retire because of a water system issue.
Yeah, that was so unfortunate.
Yeah,
Like
he was.
What
yeah,
a bummer for him.
yeah,
He's having some rough races.
yeah, he was in the lead. He went from once the rain started, he went from the lead to like fourth, and then they did. I guess they figured out what the problem. He was having a problem, and then he had to drop out. And I'm like, that is really unfortunate. You know, there's a lot of players, a lot of racers out there that are having that kind of year. Charles Leclerc. Is one of the Sergio Perez cannot buy anything. I mean, I don't even understand what's wrong with Sergio Perez. It has to be Sergio Perez, right? Not his car.
You would think, right?
You would think, but he is just not there this year. And of course, he just signed a new contract, right?
Well, but he was there
at the beginning.
At
the beginning,
all of a sudden, after 5 or 6 laps, he just forgot. I was reading today though, there are loops in his contract that would allow them to get rid of him or bench him. Bench him, right? You know, or take his seat, give it to another driver.
Right.
And it's things like he's required to be within five places. He's required to be within 100 points of Max. He's required to be within 5 constructors places, or not constructors, drivers places.
Really?
Of Max, like things like that. Like these are all in his contract. And now whether or not they'll do anything, whether or not they'll bench him, because they're probably not going to, honestly, Red Bull's probably not going to win the Constructors' Cup, but they probably still will win the Drivers' Championship. So I don't know. But yeah, these are all things that are in his contract that these are all performance things that he has to meet. Otherwise, they have cause for replacing him.
In the first 6 races, in the first 6 races of this year, Sergio Perez, I'm trying to count it in my head, had 103 points. Yeah, he's had 15 in the last 6 races, including 3 with no points. Yeah, so whatever happened after Miami, I mean, he was second, fourth. I think it's fifth, second. I think he finished second in the race there, to second and second. So he had like 5 second place finishes, and then something happened, Monza, and he finished like 9th or 8th. I think that is 8th. And again in Spain he finished 8th, and then in Austria he finished I think that's 7th. But anyway, I'm like, what happened? What just happened? Because it doesn't seem like, and all the points are going to Mercedes now. You got some from McLaren. McLaren's picking up points too, but Mercedes seems to have this thing, and McLaren is right there. I don't know which one of those two is going to be their Ferrari is still in second place in the standings,
which is all being carried by Sainz.
And it was carried from the first few races. I guess there's like 6 or 7 select races where they scored a lot of points, but not so much. They didn't score a single point in Canada. That's killing them. But they're only 7 points ahead of McLaren. McLaren's going to pass them the way they're performing right now. And if it weren't for Sainz, who won't be there next year. Yeah. Which is really weird, right? I mean, these are the things that you just go, what are we doing? What are you guys doing? We're not going to sign him to another contract. We're not going to have him back. We want Lewis Hamilton, but he's the only guy keeping you guys from being in like 5th place in the constructor standings.
Well, I mean, that's which when Lewis said that he was going to, or when they announced that he was going to Ferrari, like it almost reassured everyone that like, okay, Mercedes is having car issues and Lewis can't do this anymore. He's leaving. But now Mercedes is no longer having car issues. I don't think Ferrari has car issues per se. I think they have driver issues, and I think that they have management issues.
Yeah.
I think those are their two big problems. But I mean, do you think I like, what is his name? Fred, the guy who runs Ferrari, Fred whatever. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that little guy that Toto's always messing
Yep.
with.
Yep. Yeah.
Like I think he's a good manager, and it's only his first year, I think, as team manager. So it's hard to say what's going to happen in the future. I do think getting rid of Signs is going to be tough, but I think if Mercedes is smart, they'll try and grab Signs. Although I've already heard Signs might be going to like Williams or something.
Yeah, maybe. I still gonna say this. Oliver Behrman's in 14th place overall, and he's only raced in one race.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I still think that's
That's
crazy,
another interesting thing. Is like
right?
as bad as Mercedes was last year. Like remember they had the real growing pains.
Yeah.
Did they ever go through a stretch as bad as what Sergio Perez is going through?
I don't think so.
Like they were in eighth, ninth, 10th every race for a while. You know, 6th through 10th, somewhere in that range,
So
every race. And I don't think they ever had a dry spell like Sergio's had.
so I'm looking at the 23 standings. Lewis Hamilton finished third overall, and
Yeah,
and George Russell finished eighth. Russell was kind of hit or miss. He had a few no
yeah.
points. He had 4 or 5 different no points and then some lower points. But Hamilton was in the top 10 um, in every race,
Every race, yeah.
every race all year long. So
Like as
yeah,
bad as that car was, as much as the
yeah,
issues it was having, he was still around.
right,
And it's just yeah, I'm with you. There's got to be something in Sergio's brain that is a problem
yeah.
right now because
It's in your head, maybe just like
we've
the
seen what that car can do. Either that or
yeah,
we're getting into a set of tracks that are particularly difficult on the Red Bulls,
um,
and that in conjunction with other teams putting together some good things is kind of forcing him down. But I mean, we've seen mental errors from him in qualifying and things like that. You know, overrunning the sides of tracks and getting
yeah.
track limits, like just little things that you haven't seen from him that much. So
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I don't know because I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking at last year's things and of course Max won everything, right? That was in his string of however many consecutive wins
Yeah,
this group of races. But Perez was second in Austria. He was second in Belgium. He was third in Hungary. This is last year, obviously, and then he was fourth in both Spain and the Netherlands. So he was in there. I mean, he wasn't super performing. He wasn't like second, but he was definitely a solid number two last year overall because he had many good performances. He finished ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who finished in the top 10 in every race. So if that tells you anything,
yeah.
yeah. So he did very very well this year. It's just after the sixth race when he was clearly in second place overall. It has just gone down the tubes. I have no idea what's happening. I'm wondering if you just don't get in your own head and you just can't do anything. Then all of a sudden, nothing works right.
Well, I'm thinking back. He had this little streak in 2021, and I'm looking through the things here where he had finished, fifth, 11th, fourth, fifth, fourth, first, third, fourth, and then all of a sudden sixth, 16th, did not finish, 19th, eighth.
Weird.
So five races in a row there where his highest place was sixth, and it was just like, okay, well, what is happening in it? But then he got right back to it: five, nine, third, fourth, and then two did not finish at the end,
It's weird.
which may or may not be his fault.
Right. It's just weird. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. But I mean, it's gonna be interesting if this keeps going. I like the fact that we're seeing different people. I mean, it's the same people. Okay, let's be honest. It's gonna be the same. It's gonna be McLaren. It's gonna be Mercedes. It's gonna be Red Bull. It's gonna be Ferrari. Those four teams are gonna be who you're gonna see win. But we're seeing Lando Norris. We're seeing Oscar Piastri with chances to do things. Now Lewis Hamilton wins for the first time in it's been a while since what 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, George Russell just won last week. So you're going to see different people winning, which is really, really good to see. Nobody wants to watch one guy win every race. That's just not any fun. So
We
I'm
like
happy
we like
with
a
that.
little balance. I just
Yeah.
want to see somebody challenge for the
The
title. And yeah,
title.
I know that that's that's a ways off right now. So, but I mean, because Red Bull is they're just so far ahead, right? I mean,
Yeah. You got
he's
to.
only 70 something points ahead, but not only do you have to stop him from winning, you have to stop him from placing high.
Yeah. What you would need to get yourself back in it is you would need him to have a couple of did not finishes or finish out of the points.
Yes.
Well, you
Wow.
win a couple
Yeah.
races, yeah, and then you'd be right back in it. But I don't
Well,
think it's gonna
that's
happen.
I mean that's true because if Max DNFs two races and Lando wins two races,
It's 50
which are
points.
both tall ass, yeah, it's
Yeah.
50 points. That
Yeah.
puts you at 255 to 225. You're right in the mix.
You're right there. Yeah, it would be great.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But that's not going to happen. The worst. I mean, Max had a tire blown off his car and still managed to finish 8th.
Yeah, it was
So
pretty amazing, wasn't it? I mean,
definitely
when you think
shouldn't have
about
been
it.
driving back to pit lane. But
No, but he
that's
did.
also pretty huge right there. Now that I'm thinking about it, Max finished that race with 8 points, 9 points, whatever it was for
Yeah.
8th place. But Lando got nothing for it.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah, that's huge.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Good
Anyway,
race though.
it was. Yeah, and all of this has been good for the whole thing has been good. I like watching the good races, so that's been really good. So and the only thing also is that there was a sprint race in Austria, and so Verstappen got points in the sprint race too before he got knocked down. You know what I mean? So there's more
Makes you
points
like a
to be had. Yeah,
35.8 or something like that.
yeah. Because Russell came away with 30 points for the weekend, right? 25 for the win, and then 5 from the sprint race. So that's a big deal. Sprint races, I'm not a big fan of them, but we'll talk about that later. They should be shorter. It should be shorter, DRS enabled the whole way, and
see, I don't like any of that. I think it should be a drag race, like start side by side.
Yeah,
gunning to cross the finish line first.
20 cars across.
Well, let's just do it by line. First line, second line, third line. So you do 1, 2, 2, or 3, 4, whatever.
Put them in like a bracket.
Oh, now we're talking.
Put them in a bracket to race against.
Problem is, you would see so many accidents in turn ones.
Well, see, and this was always my thought is, well, I don't understand why they don't do qualifying individually, right? Why is everybody out there? Because there's always a problem with it, right? Oh, they're bunching up to try and make space, and we got to do this. And these guys, he slowed down and moved over in front of me while I had to back out. Just run them one at a time. Just run.
I've also never understood why they don't do 2. Well, Max said,
or as teammates.
Well, that's fair too. We'll have one person give another person a tow and kick them around. I think they actually did that. One of the teams did that. But Max this year said something like, "Why don't I just run the lap twice?" Like they were like, no, you need to cool down in between. He said, "I can just run it twice."
Yeah.
I've never understood why dudes don't just if you cross the line, there's 3 seconds left, just keep sending it.
You're already at
Get
full
another
speed,
one, right? Yeah. You might as well. I've never understood why they all insist on a cooldown lap in between, unless there's some major advantage. But you don't do that in a normal race.
And I don't understand, because we want your tires to be heated up and have grip, but not right now. Not right now.
But at the appropriate moment.
I guess that's what it is. And I know it has to do with tire management. You've only got so many tires, and you don't want to burn all the way through them. And I get that, but they make it sound like, oh well, he used those softs in qualifying, so now they're just useless. I said, yeah, he drove 3 laps on them. I swear you could get 12 or 15 laps out of them, right? Now they're already kind of worn in, right? If you can just heat them up, the world is good, right? Because the soft isn't best on the first lap.
There are people out there driving on the interstate right now on tires they should have changed 40,000 miles ago.
Yeah,
I'm sorry that your 2 laps are a problem.
I am gonna say though that the weather being hot has helped me with my grip on the track, so it's been nice. Yeah, I can go a lot faster around corners.
That is so. It's really funny. There's this video out there. This girl posted a video and put it on TikTok, and she got a nail in her tire, and she's basically complaining that she doesn't know how to change a tire. She's like, "I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl," and she shows her tires, and they're just bald, and there's 2 nails in it.
Yeah.
And everyone started commenting. She's got the super soft tires on this week.
Yeah, that's amazing that people don't know how to change a tire. I guess because one of those things.
You can do that crap if you live in Arizona where you don't get serious weather.
I don't know.
Your tire will still get grip. But if you live in any place that gets rain or any sort of conditions, you won't find out fast.
If you're you know what? This should be part of your driver's test.
How to maintenance your car.
How to change into your spare tire. That's it. If you can change
emergency maintenance, I think is what we call it.
Emergency maintenance. Yep, that should be part of your driver's test. If you can't change into a spare tire, then you're unsafe. Sorry, because now we got to call another vehicle out, and that's a safety issue.
Well, it's part of your driver's test to know how to where to position your car on the interstate, the little triangle thing that you're supposed to keep in your car, the little warning, it talks about where to keep that, where to put that, what the proper distance are. So I got asked about that in my driver's test.
Yeah.
or like the computer test. I didn't get asked while I was driving, but
Right.
so at least they're talking a little bit about it. But they didn't mention anything about like how to change a tire. Although I guess the problem with that is that not all cars come with spares. Every car tire is a little different. What if you're driving around a Porsche C or not a Porsche C7, a Corvette C7? Like those don't have a tire lug you can just change out unless you have a what's it called, like a full on like a what is it called? A power air drill thing. What are those called?
Impact
Oh
wrench.
my, impact wrench. God dang it, that was killing me. Unless you
Yeah.
have one of those because they have a center locking cap on them.
I
Like
just
they're not a full thing. So it depends on the car, and I guess because of that, there's too much variance to make it standardized.
yeah. I was just liking the sound because you did the sound pretty good. Yeah. That's always the best. That's like my favorite part of race when they just change tires and you hear that.
It is. I've told Cassie I want to get an impact wrench, and every so often I will rotate the tires.
Just
But I will do it as fast as possible. Full jumpsuit, helmet.
How
I'll
come-
run out to the car. And
how come they don't make regular cars with just the one giant nut that
They
you
do.
can do they?
Yeah, so that's
can
what I
buy
was
a
just
car?
saying just now is the C7 Corvettes, the new ones.
That's
They
not a
only
regular
come with
car.
this. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
When you say regular car, that means a lot. That means a lot of things. But no, your average car under $80,000
Right.
does not have that. It's not cost effective, and it's a little weird.
Well,
because it has to do with like how it anchors onto your car,
Right.
And it's like it's part of like your suspension system. It's a whole thing.
I get it. What I'm saying is though, a person that's driving a however many hundreds of thousands of dollar Corvette,
Yeah.
He's not going to change his own tires. Sorry, he's not
No.
doing that.
Well, most of the time you can't because
Right.
the tool that's used to pull those off. So Ferraris, well, not all Ferraris, most new Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Mercedes AMGs, they all
Yeah.
have that center lug
That's
pull
all
off thing,
that's-
and it's a whole thing. But you can buy a conversion kit. For
Oh,
your
I
car
can. All right.
And a set of rims, and the next thing you know,
It will look really good on the Jetta.
it would look really good on the Jetta. And not to mention, but I just like the idea that like it's time to rotate your tires, and you get into the full like pit team getup
Right.
just to change
with
your,
the
just to rotate.
helmet and the suit
Yeah.
and everything, right?
You and like three friends all just
Well,
get
what-
together.
It's funny because I picture your mom, me making your mom go get in the car and drive it around the block and pull in, and then I can run out there.
It'd be more like a NASCAR stop with the 5 lugs. Which, by the way, I have watched those things.
Those guys are
It's
amazing.
Incredible.
That's amazing. They're way better. I mean, it's much harder to do what they do, and they do it so well.
Yeah, they do it so well, and they're not allowed to have multiple people operating on multiple tires at once. So,
Right.
it's a front and a back team.
Right.
So the front team handles both sides. So not only do you have to, it's the added thing that F1 doesn't have, where you have to change one tire and then huff it to the other side to make sure your cable's out of the way.
And they don't always change both sides. Sometimes they change one side because, well, number one, they're always going in a circle, so there's always uneven wear. But yeah. Anyway, all right, we talked about cars probably for too long. Let's let's talk about the NBA for a minute. So LeBron James signed a max contract, re-signed with the Lakers. After the Lakers drafted his son Bronny. Was that a leverage deal? Do you think, or was
maybe.
it? I mean, did he go? You're gonna draft him, so that we're gonna play together, and then I'll sign a contract with you. Is that what they did, or I mean, it makes you wonder, right? Because
I don't think so, because there's 1,000 people out there who didn't have that kind of situation, who didn't get their contracts until after free agency started.
Well, and I get that. I guess what I'm saying is that he what I'm getting at is he's in a different position than your regular guy to manipulate the team and the structure.
Yes,
so
that's true. But I mean, by that same token, like Klay Thompson, he didn't sign anything until after free agency started, and he was considering staying at Golden State. Yes, he could have done this for that. However, it's not necessarily in line with everything else that happened.
Okay.
It was a moneymaker for LA to draft his son, regardless of how LeBron felt about it. James Jr. jerseys are going like gangbusters on Fanatics. So
Sure.
it's a deal for them. Like, and we all know how fickle LA fans are,
and,
so they love this sort of stuff.
and I love the fact that I heard everything from this is the worst draft pick in the history of the NBA to oh, he's the sleeper pick of the draft. I've heard all of that, and I'm like, what? So somewhere in between probably lies the truth. Um, I would not put my money on him, and I would not have drafted him that high. I will tell you that. I've seen him play. I get it. I've seen flashes of brilliance. It's there. He's yet to show he can do it consistently, right? So there's that. The limited sample size you get from him at a high level makes it difficult. I mean, if it was anybody else whose last name wasn't James, would they be drafting him? No, exactly. So that
sells
right.
Tickets.
I
sells
understand
jerseys, and it is a business first and foremost.
I get it. If you're yeah, I understand, and I'm assuming I'm assuming that they're assuming that 15th spot on the bench is worthless anyway, right?
It is.
Okay. So
yes,
if we're not ever going to use that player, then it doesn't matter, right?
If I could, I would. If I was the owner of the Blazers, I would draft Dua Lipa to play 15th off the bench, right? Yeah. Because it would sell tickets.
And just
waste those spots. Who cares? Good news. Chris Hemsworth is our 6-string point guard.
And just put them in when the game is way out of hand. Right?
Way out of hand. Yeah.
50 point lead, you're blowing someone out fourth quarter.
Or don't ever put them in. Who cares?
I mean,
it doesn't matter. Have them show up to the arena, put it on your Instagram, get 1,000 likes, 1 million likes per photo, and have them stand there and sign autographs post game. Who cares?
All right.
It is a great business decision by the Lakers to take him, and if it helped them secure Braun, who was a free agent, it's an even better business decision.
I guess.
Because let's be real, everyone would want LeBron. He's still really good at his age. He still gets the calls. He still gets the recognition. He still gets all of that stuff. So if he comes to your team, he's still going to get it there too. So, your game's all of a sudden, if he goes to, what's a terrible team right now? If he goes to Orlando, all of a sudden Orlando has 30 games a year on ESPN.
Right.
It's good for your team. So every team wants him, kind of regardless of everything. And for the Lakers, they had maybe LeBron said, hey, I want you to draft my son, and if you do that, I'll re-sign with you. Great.
Right.
Wonderful. That's a win-win for the Lakers.
Yeah. Well, how do we feel about
it's just stupid that it takes a spot of somebody who's good. I mean, he only played one game in the summer league. He's sitting out now with a knee injury, and in that one game he was 2 for 9 and shot 22% from the field.
Yeah.
In his 21 minutes played, over 3 from 3, over 2 from free throw. He's putting up classic brawny USC stats.
Yeah, classic. Yeah. So Klay Thompson no longer going to be at Golden State. Kind of saw that when coming. Signs with the Mavericks.
Did not see that coming.
Did not see that coming. It's an interesting. I think it's. I'm not sure how that's going to affect the Mavericks as a whole. I mean, the dynamic that's there is it's Luka, right? And it's always Luka, and it's Luka all the time. It should help if you're getting the Klay that is the normal Klay, and not the one that had whatever mental issues, I guess, for last year or the year before when he was struggling.
Coming back from a couple major injuries,
he did
back to back. Yeah,
he was struggling to get to himself, but he's better. He was better this last season. But Klay can help the Mavericks. He's not getting any younger, and he's had some injuries, so there's that. Are the Mavericks better with him?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, totally. Klay on a bad day, shooting wise. I mean, that's actually not fair. Not anymore, because it used to be Klay on a bad day was still shooting 30%. Klay on a bad day now shoots 20%. But he now isn't in the 2 role. He's in the 3 role, assuming he doesn't come off the bench. He's playing 3. So he's off to the side, camped in a corner. And he's an upgrade. He's an absolute upgrade for doing that job. Because you got to cover Kyrie, and if you're not covering Kyrie, you got to cover Luka. And if you're not covering Luka, then your third best on-ball defender has to be covering Klay. who is still a top 15 defensive player in this league. Like his shooting has suffered, but his defense is still on par. So yeah, he is an absolute gem. I really wanted the Blazers to pick him up, but we don't have the team around him to support that. But yeah, at the Mavericks, if they can grab a more competent bench center, that team is going to be really, really, really good because behind Max Kleba, there's really nobody.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because he's going to steal um, points from Luka. I mean,
A little bit, yeah.
they're gonna overlap. They can't both, be awesome all day. That's just not how a team with two relatively high name, high profile stars, that just doesn't happen very well. One's gonna overshadow the other. But in the end, it's still probably Luka's team just because he is who he is and he can. Right now, Luka's the better player, and
Totally.
so yeah, so there's that. But Clay is a great pickup for a Dallas team that, I mean, I don't know, Dallas team that looked like they were good at times and then other times didn't look like they could punch their way out of a bag. It was
Strange. They would have games
right.
that get blown out by 30 and then games where they win by 30 all like
Right.
back to back.
Yeah, it was interesting. So anyway,
But that's still a great pickup for Dallas.
what do you feel about Paul George?
I liked what he said today in his introductory press conference where he talked about like he's not chasing rings, he's looking to play.
Right.
So he signed there for minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's admirable, but also, buddy, I personally think he's already a Hall of Famer, right? He's had one of those careers. He's made that kind of impact on multiple teams. He just is there. But the only thing that's missing from his resume, if you wanted to keep him off of it, is he doesn't have a ring. So
yeah.
at this point in his career, would I blame him for ring chasing? No. Do I admire him for not? Yes. Although I think he sees that team is going to be like, I think they were tanking again this year because they got the number 1 pick again this year. I think, or hold on. I'm pretty sure they either had the number 1 or the number 2 pick again this year.
You're talking about San Antonio.
San Antonio.
That's
I'm sorry, they
Chris
had the number
Paul.
4. They had number 4. So they grabbed Stephen Castle this year.
Right.
So another point guard, right?
Right.
So they had the number 1 pick overall last year's draft. They had the number 4 overall pick in this year's draft, right. And they just grabbed Chris Paul. That team's gonna get competitive sooner than later.
Gotta have to get good at some point. You keep loading it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm still not sold that Victor Wembanyama is the guy, but I mean,
he's not the guy by himself. But in today's NBA, is anybody?
No, I guess
there are no lone superstars who can do it anymore. You got to have a squad.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, Paul George was probably due to leave too, and the Clippers re-signed James Harden.
Yeah,
right, which was interesting. I think there's a George Harden thing. I don't want to say like they don't get along, but I don't think they're compatible necessarily. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's I don't even know what I want to call it. But yeah, and as you mentioned, Chris Paul goes out to San Antonio, and yeah, San Antonio is going to get good at some point. I mean, they have to, right? It has to come back around. You can't keep tanking every year. Well, I mean, you can. They could do it one more year and try and get another player, I suppose. But
I don't know what was going on with them.
22-60 last year. Yeah. Well, it's all right because the Blazers try and do it, and then they never get their ping pong ball picked. Every.
I personally think there's something to it, something suspicious about it.
Right.
Every year, I'm like, what is going on here?
Right.
But the problem is the Blazers never really commit to the tank.
Well, they start off every year not committing to the tank.
They start off
play,
500
through
20 games, through 30 games, and then they go,
okay,
I guess we'll tank now.
Too late to tank.
Yeah, because you can't tank harder than Detroit out there winning 10 games in a season.
I was going to say, when you're 15-15 at the 30-game mark, you're already way too far ahead because San Antonio only won 22 games this last year. It means you can only win 7 more than the last 50. That's pretty.
And there are like marker games you want to win. Like for Portland, you want to beat LA. It doesn't matter
how bad it is.
It doesn't matter which way it steers you. You want to beat LA. For Portland, you want to beat Dame coming back to Portland. Things like that. Like those are things you want to win. So there's probably 15 games a season just are like pride games alone.
Yeah.
So that sells season tickets, or that keep you. And what do I always say? Last couple games of the season, once you're out of the playoffs, these teams go on a win streak because
Yeah.
they're trying to sell season tickets
Season
for
tickets.
next year.
That's true.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know.
it's a weird. It was a weird. It's weird for the Blazers because they never get it right. They just don't commit to it. But I mean, by the same token, you have these Detroit fans, you have these Orlando fans, who all those two teams tanked historically bad for a few years. The 76ers also did the same thing, tanked historically bad for a few years, and their fans hated them during that period of time. Just hated the team. They wanted everyone fired. And that doesn't quite happen with the Blazers, but I don't know. The mediocrity or sub mediocrity is really frustrating.
Yeah. So how do we feel about the Blazers' number one draft pick, Donovan Clingan,
Not bad.
out of UConn? I get nervous every time they take a big man, so it doesn't really matter. Not that he's had any issues or he's going to have any issues, but I still get nervous.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, just from past history.
I like Klingon. I think he's going to be good. I'm happy that they didn't take Zach Edey. There was a rumor, there was a lot of steam that the Blazers were going to take Zach Edey. I don't believe in Zach Edey. And so when they took Donovan Klingon, I was very relieved. But in true Blazer fashion, you take Donovan Klingon
Yeah.
while you just did a deal. I don't know if it was an extension or something like that, but while you just got something done with DeAndre Ayton. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
is this? I mean, I get this guy's supposed to replace DeAndre Ayton at some point, but come on, let's quit drafting goddamn guards and let's quit freaking taking positions that already have starters at them.
The good news is they only drafted 2 this year.
True. It's true.
two guards out of 4 picks. They had 4 picks this year, and they took 2 guards. And I like, okay.
Although I like what is his name, Denny Avdia, the guy that we traded for.
Yeah.
With our 14th pick or whatever. I like him. I think he's going to be good. However, I just don't trust anybody.
Right.
I just don't.
Yeah, it's hard to say. And draft picks are really, really difficult anymore. You know what I mean? You don't get, you got all these guys in round 1 that got drafted, and I'm listening to the names when they get read off, and I'm going, yeah, I don't know most of these guys, and I just don't know. I don't know how good any of them are going to be, especially when some of them, heck, 3 of the top 6 guys came from France, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how good they're going to translate into the NBA.
See, to me, that feels strategic. That feels fake. It doesn't feel. It's like we want the NBA to become a bigger global brand,
right?
And the only way we're going to do that is by continuing to invest in draft picks from other countries.
Right. Well, 4 first-round draft picks from France.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah. So I don't know, but maybe France is the new, I don't know, the new place to get them from. I don't know. We had one from Cameroon. There's a guy from Germany. So it's yes, I think you're right. They're they've gotten players from Spain, Brazil, Puerto Rico in the past, and European countries, have traditionally been pretty good. But when you start pinpointing a one country, like, okay, so there's however many draft picks, 58 draft picks in the first round, or in the first 2 rounds, and there was 5 people from France taken. That's a pretty significant number.
Yeah, when you consider that it's in America, you're going to play all your games in America or Canada, like
right.
That's pretty big. Yeah,
that's a big number. Yeah. Anyway, so I get it that they're trying to become an international thing, and I understand that, but it'll be interesting to see if those players translate into anything. You've seen the ones in college. You've got those proven commodities. Let's say at the college level, they're not necessarily proven in the NBA because you never know, but. It'll be interesting. It's always the first. How many first round draft picks in the NBA are there 3 years from now, right? How many there are still playing, are gonna play? Depending, I guess the contract that you sign when you start, depending on how long that is, but how many guys still playing effectively, playing effective minutes after 3 or 4 years is the question. That's the thing, because it's.
I think the way to think about it is how many NBA draft picks get a second contract.
That's true.
Like I think that's a good way to look at it, because if
Right.
if only a handful of them get there,
And
then
and I
that
guess
tells you.
more specifically, how many of them get a second contract with get it with the team with the same team, right? No, they're not like sent as free agent. They're not become a free agent, or we're not going to sign you, and then they sign with someone else. A second NBA contract doesn't always necessarily mean you're great. You know what I mean? Because if the first team didn't want you anymore after however many years,
Right.
how good are you?
So I'm looking at a Reddit thread, so I don't see like any site sourcing here.
Yeah.
But somebody said that it says the average number of draft picks to get a second contract is 20. So 20 of the 60 players drafted, whatever
Oh,
it is,
gotcha.
So that's still
That's a significant
33%,
number.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of that is like, think about the Blazers in the Sear Little, right? We drafted him. We probably shouldn't have given him an extension. Shouldn't given him a second contract, but we did.
Right.
So like that's a guy who got one who probably shouldn't have. So then you go from like, yeah, like how many people get it versus how many people deserved it, how many teams are unwilling to let go, like that sort of thing. So kind of quirky.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can always go back and look, year by year, and you can see how the players that are, playing at a
Yeah.
high level, the guys from like 2022, you got Bankero and Holmgren and Jabari Smith. Those, there's some good players. Shaden Sharp, um,
Shit.
there's some good players in there, but you also have a lot of guys that you just go who. So, you know, anyway,
I
yeah,
see loads of those guys every year where I'm just
every
like,
year.
I don't know the name of that. Who is this guy?
I think you know what the worst sport for that is baseball. There's so many players drafted in baseball, and there's so many no names. There's so many people that just don't amount to anything.
Well,
Um,
that's because the baseball drafts for the farm system too.
well, yeah,
Well, it doesn't drafts for the team, but you send them to the farm system, and
right,
that's where people fade away.
right, yeah, and yeah, you're dealing with 4 or 5 baseball clubs worth of players, right? But you're not replacing all of the players. You're only replacing a portion of the players. But still, they have however many rounds in MLB draft. I haven't even looked, but 40, 50, I don't know. And
Really?
it's
That
it's
many?
it's
Yeah.
gigantic. I don't even here. Let me look. MLB draft. Let's go look at this and see what the format is of the MLB draft. Um,
Five.
there's your draft order. So, okay. So is that gonna be for every? Oh, good lord, I hate these. These.
Oh, okay. I've got your answer, and it changed.
Yeah,
So until 2019, it was 40
40
rounds.
rounds. There you go.
Now it's 20 rounds.
Oh, only 20. Yeah, only 20.
But still, 2,600 selections, 20 rounds.
It takes a while. And like I said, you get a lot of no names in those drafts because baseball is one of those things where they're willing because there's so many players, you got so many draft picks. They're willing to take a stretch. They're willing to say, oh, he hits great, his arm's not that great, but maybe he'll develop that talent, right? They're willing to do that. In the NBA, where you only have 2 rounds, shoot, you might only have 2 draft picks, right? So you got to make sure that you're getting something out of it. But anyway, yeah, MLB.
Wait, how big is the MLB roster?
25 players per
Um,
team.
It says teams must have a minimum of 25 players on their 26-man roster
Yeah.
with a maximum of 13 pitchers.
Right.
So it's a 26-man roster. You have to have 26 guys. But I'm seeing here there's a 40-man roster that also includes your
In spring, you got to
Yeah.
cut it down. I think the postseason roster is bigger too. You can carry some extra players on the postseason roster. So,
Jeez Louise.
yeah, it's big.
Big rosters for a bunch of outfielders who don't run that much.
It is it's a lot of that. But when you stop and think about it, if you carry what you need, you're going to have 5 starting pitchers. Okay, there's 5 of your spots taken up,
Right.
right? That leaves you with room for 7 or 8 relievers.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you take all 8 relievers and have a max of 13, then you only have 13 other players. Well, there's 8 of them starters. That gives you 5 subs.
Yeah.
Well, man, somebody gets hurt. Now we're stretching, right? So there's that. Now that's why they have the farm team. Is if a guy gets hurt, they can send him down and pull a guy up. So
Yeah.
in theory, you've got your 26 and the 26 below you.
And then an expanded roster. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So
Oh, the MLB.
it's a
trying to
little
work around
it's
it.
a little easier, but it's still there's a lot of players. Anyway,
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Moving on.
I don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about the NFL real quick. Um,
Da-da-da-da-da.
that's not that. A jury in U.S. District Court ordered the NFL to pay more than $4.7 billion in damages after ruling that the league violated antitrust laws in distributing out-of-market Sunday afternoon games on a premium subscription service.
Told you about this the other day.
Yep.
Last time we were on the show, I mentioned this.
Yep. And since it can be tripled, damages can be tripled. There's a chance that the NFL could end up being liable for $14.39 billion.
Yeah.
Which they've broken out to be $449 million per team or something. And I'm like, the team has to pay for it? I mean,
the team all shares in the revenue.
They did.
The team all takes a hit in the
the
lawsuit.
I guess
you'd lose from it.
My question is this: is that so? Here, let me do the quick math.
Well, and here's the deal: part of this is that the owners of the teams voted to do these things.
True.
So that's why your team has some liability, because your owner has some liability.
Well, here's my question. So the NFL itself, which of course is what is it? Is it a not-for-profit? What is the NFL?
Is the NFL a not-for-profit?
The NFL's got a special tax situation. Yeah, because what you're dealing with is if they say it's $450 million per team times 32 teams, that's all of the total that the NFL is going to pay. So it's going to come out of the teams. It's not going to come from the NFL. The NFL itself doesn't have money. The teams have all the money. That's what they're going to tell you. So the NFL is not making any money.
Oh, I see what you mean. The NFL itself is not for profit in that it moves its revenues down to the teams.
Correct. The NFL is not for profit officially,
Gotcha.
which is a bunch of garbage. But I mean,
But all that means is that you just have to spend your surpluses.
Right. You can't have any leftover money, but you can spend as much money as you want.
And you have to do certain volumes of like charitable donations and things there's a bunch of little things for that. Interesting. I feel like I knew that, but also I forgot it, and now I'm surprised by it again. It's gonna happen again.
Right.
But have you ever bought a Sunday ticket?
No.
Oh, well, you're not going to get any money back. I'm going to get money back from 4 years.
Yeah, you might get $7 by the time it's over.
Better be 70. Those things were no, it probably will be like 7 actually. Now I'm thinking about it, because we've had it under a student plan every time. Cassie has an EDU email address. That's all it takes, and next thing you know, boom, you get Sunday ticket for what's normally $400. You get it for, I think it was $125.
Oh, I have a .edu. I could do that.
Yeah. Do it. It's a pretty good deal, because you get every game. The only difference between the student plan and the full-on plans is that it's limited to the number of devices that can stream it at once.
Oh, gotcha.
So you kind of get hosed, and if I'm watching it upstairs and Cassie wants to watch something downstairs, it doesn't work. It'll kick one of us off.
So it's funny because this lawsuit was originally filed in 2015, by the way. And so it's been that long in the making, and now we're going to go through the appeal process. So who knows how long?
So it'll be another 15 years.
Yeah, right. It's going to be forever before anything gets settled.
But what it means is that they're not going to be able to price, not necessarily this year, because this year's probably all settled and resolved in terms of distribution, but they won't be able to price things moving forward the same way. They'll have to be more cognizant of what things are offered and what they actually cost, and not hyperinflated. I just hope that of all of this, what comes out of it is a team specific streaming option. That's all I want. I just want to pay. I'll pay $100 a year to watch all 18 Bronco games, no matter where they are or who they're carried by.
Right.
That's my issue, is when I go to watch a Bronco game and it's it's on Prime tonight, so it's blacked out on NFL Network. It's damn it.
Right.
Now I have to have Prime too. It's oh, well, it's on CBS, so it's not, and it's local for you, so it's not going to be carried on NFL Network. Damn, I don't want that. I want all 18 games in one place where I can watch them all. I don't care who's broadcasting it.
Right.
But that means that all these people got to get together and agree.
Right. And I think their intent is they don't want empty stadiums. They want everybody staying home watching TV, and I get it, but it's, let's be honest, people are still going to go to the football games. You know what I mean? It's still it's still an event. You're not going to not sell tickets.
Hell, we're going to opening day this year. Well, at least I'm hoping you're coming with me.
Well, there you go.
To watch Broncos Seahawks. Yeah,
Seahawks.
I got it. I'm not have to go to every. I'm going plan on going to 2 games this year. There's one on my birthday against the Colts, and there's the Seahawks game.
There
So,
you go.
but it's too expensive to go to every game.
It is. It's really super expensive to go, unless you're a really bad team. If you're in a if you're in a market with a really bad football team, it's cheaper.
It's true. Cardinals
yeah.
tickets last year,
Yeah.
they were like selling like package deals with the final 2 games of the season.
It's fun. I was gonna say it's funny because as the season goes along, the ticket price changes, right? So all of a sudden, oh look, we still got seats, and we'll give you a deal, and it's 2 for 1, or it's just trying to put bodies in the seats, hoping they can sell concessions.
Well, I think one of the things that they need to do first for season ticket sales is you need to be able to show up with a Denver or even I even go far for the Broncos. Show up with a Colorado license. That's the first thing I need you to do. You need to be able to prove that you are a citizen of Colorado, because if you're not, the likelihood of you coming to games is slim. Which means the likelihood that you're selling the tickets is high. Now, if I show up and I hand you my license and it says that I live just down the street in Green Valley Ranch, you're like, yeah, he's probably going to come to all 9 home games. Or all 7 home games, more than likely, right? Or maybe he'll miss 1 or 2, but he's going to show up to most of them,
right?
But if I hand you my LA ID, my California ID, it's like this guy might come to 1 game,
right?
Maybe 2, like if he comes to games at all, and then they have to start getting into like the bulk ticket sales and things like that. I told you the story about how Austin worked in ticket sales for a while, and there would be people who have accounts in Idaho with Blazer tickets, with 10 different season tickets for the Blazers, and they just sell them. That's their whole job.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep, I get it. It's a big deal. I mean, but nobody's enforcing it, so
I mean, there's money to be made for the teams. Why would you?
Right. That's true. So here's a question I have. Well, no, let me go to the next picture first. Dak Prescott says that the walking boot was precautionary, and that he's doing great. He had a walking boot on, seen on vacation in Cabo with a walking boot. But apparently, his quote was, honestly, I'm getting older. It's the same ankle that I snapped, and I had a nasty surgery on 4 years ago. So a couple of hard days of training, and you get a little sore, and you're going on a fishing trip, and you want to protect it and make sure things don't get worse. But literally, it's absolutely nothing. And I'm like, it's not nothing if it hurts that badly that you think you need to protect it and put a boot on it. How are you going to play an NFL game on it? I mean, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that seems more than nothing. Not everyone's walking around with a boot on their ankle.
Well, and the other thing is, you don't just wake up one day and go, it's kind of sore today. I think I'll wear the boot.
Right.
You go to your doctor.
Your doctor told
says,
you to wear the boot.
Maybe we should get you back in the boot for a little bit.
Right.
Kind of keep that thing stiff and in the right position. But it's like, if you're walking around in a boot, you clearly have an issue.
There's an issue.
You can't say it's precautionary. No one wears a neck brace for precautions.
Right. Well, yeah, it's the same neck that I woke up on yesterday, and it really hurt. So I just
I slept on it wrong.
I decided to put
a
brace
all
on
day.
it every day from now on, just as a precaution.
I had my right arm casted because I had a little bit of tennis elbow, so I was a little worried that it might get worse.
There was a potential I might snap it, so I just put it in a precautionary cast.
Precautionary cast. I called my plaster guy. He came right.
Plaster guy. I don't. Yeah, you can't sit and tell me it's not. And what is it? What else is he gonna say? He's gonna say it's nothing. Of course he is. But
right.
Yeah,
he is. He owes it to his team
Dak,
to say it's nothing. He owes it to his fans to say it's nothing. It doesn't do him any good to be like, yeah, I got a problem.
Dak, maybe you shouldn't be fishing in Cabo. Maybe you should be rehabbing the ankle. That's all I'm gonna say. Rather than wearing the boot out fishing in Cabo.
All I'm saying is that you can go anywhere in rehab, right? And fishing is, unless you're deep sea fishing, is one of the least strenuous activities there is.
Yeah, I would imagine they're probably going on a boat. But also,
they're probably deep sea fishing.
But also, you're going to deal with a slippery, wet deck on a boat, now in a boot, which is not always the best option. But hey, whatever.
Let me tell you a story about slipping in a boot. I got out of my car one time after I tore my Achilles, and it had just rained in Portland. It wasn't that wet outside, but it was a little wet. It wasn't raining actively. And I started to walk, and the bottom of those things have some grip. It's a big plate of rubber on the bottom with little grooves in it, but it ain't great.
Yeah.
And I caught a little spot of water, and it just went clean out from underneath me. So I can
It's crazy.
imagine that a plexiglass boat deck
Right.
is probably a little more slick.
I'm just saying. Um, sad news. Sad news from the NFL. As Minnesota Vikings draft pick and former Oregon Duck Kyrie Jackson was killed in a car crash with two others. Um, yeah. So I read about this. I mean, the Maryland State Police, the car. I read the story here or the narrative about what happened. They don't add everything because it's an active and ongoing investigation.
Sure,
But
sure, sure.
but there was another car involved that apparently may have been in. It may have, yeah, may have been the instigator. But it sounds like there's people changing lanes, two cars changing lanes at high speed, right? And the Charger that Jackson was in, the Dodge Charger, left the road, struck multiple tree stumps. Apparently, it was just demolished. But the Infinity that was quote unquote made them leave the road. Maybe I guess that's what they're trying to the narrative that's trying to be put out there. I don't know if that's true. I don't know, but you know, they were not injured. Nobody in that car was injured, but they believe alcohol may have played a role in the crash. And yeah, it was 3:14 a.m. So I'm going to go with yes on the alcohol. That's
Huge.
that's a bad time to be out driving. I mean,
What I'm hearing is that dudes in a Dodge Charger and dudes in an Infinity Q50 or whatever it was, we're trying to race each other.
Yeah.
Not in like the drag racy sense, but trying to see who can get wherever they were going the fastest.
Absolutely. And that's exactly
somebody made a mistake, and alcohol impairs judgment and reaction times.
And that's exactly what I said when I read it. I was like, yeah, they were racing.
But the difference between this and some other like things, like who is the guy from the Raiders? Ruggs, yeah, Jalen Ruggs. The difference between this and something like a Jalen Ruggs situation, Kyrie wasn't driving.
No, he wasn't driving.
Which is what makes it unfortunate. Like,
right.
I mean, yeah, if you surround yourself with bad people, you could end up in bad situations, but that doesn't mean that it's fair. That doesn't mean that it's right. It's definitely crappy that he's going to pay some sort of ultimate toll for, his driver's screw up. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
So I don't know. It's just really sad.
It is. It's really sad. Quick news out of the NHL. The Kraken have hired the NHL's first woman assistant coach in Jessica Campbell. Not that that's anything newsworthy, I guess. It shouldn't be, right? But it is because she's the first one. She had already made history because the Kraken had hired her as an assistant coach for their AHL affiliate, the Coachella Valley Firebirds.
Which, by the way, is the coolest team name.
Is it?
The Coachella Valley Firebirds, and their logo is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that is it. It is by far and away the coolest team name.
Okay. I can. All right. Anyway, but yeah, that happened in 2022. But yeah, she's a big name. I mean, she's a big deal in the soccer world, or in the hockey world. I'm looking at soccer things.
It's basically soccer on ice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of. And can we all get behind the fact that soccer should have 10 extra yards behind the goal, just like hockey? You could go around behind the goal. Wouldn't that make it much better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make it more awesome to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can do it in lacrosse. You can do it in hockey. Why can't you do it in soccer?
And I think tennis should be played on a dome where you can hit off the walls.
As long as it lands in, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
right? In the court.
It still has to. So like you still have the out of bounds back,
right,
and on the sides.
Yeah.
But only up for 4 or 5 feet on either side, and
I mean,
five yards each back and front. But yeah, I want to be able to slap it off the roof. That's a different kind of spike right there.
Yeah.
You rip it up to the ceiling, it hits the ceiling, comes bolting back down. Like, you got to play that kind of funky. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Crazy sports here.
I like it. I'm always in a favor of alterations that would make the game more interesting. But I still think there's a penalty box in hockey for a reason. It works, right? It gives the other team an advantage. It doesn't automatically give them points, right? Like the NBA. Yeah, you fouled me. Oh, I'm going to get 2 free throws. That's usually points. We're giving away points. Stop giving the other team points. Make them earn some points. But play 5-on-4 for a minute. That's fine.
Yeah.
Make them sit out for 1 minute, before they can come back in. You get 6 fouls, you still have to be out.
What I would like is some sort of addition to the penalty box to allow them to get out faster. I don't know if it's like a game or a puzzle or something that they have to
A
solve.
Rubik's
But
Cube.
it's a Rubik's Cube, and if you finish it, whenever you're done, get out.
Oh my gosh.
Like you're good to go. Like
It
just
depends.
anything like that.
It
Like
depends on the severity of the penalty. All right.
well, sure,
Yeah,
for
the
a major,
puzzle.
you gotta serve the whole thing. But any minor penalty,
No, I mean
like
the
come on now.
puzzle. The difficulty of the puzzle is harder depending on
Oh,
how on how on
the
how
Rubik's Cube is
right.
for the fighting major.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, here's a 50-piece jigsaw puzzle. Put this together. As soon as you're done, you can get out. Oh man.
Oh.
Right? Got to do it with your gloves on too.
God, I can't even grab the piece.
Yeah, you got to do it with your gloves on. Anyway,
there's
got to be a way.
That's a better one. You have to peel a banana with your gloves on.
Oh, I think they probably do. These guys are pretty talented. I'm imagining a hockey player can do a lot of things with the gloves on.
I've actually worn a pair of hockey gloves. Like the leather on the bottom side of them is not super thick, so
right.
you can still get some good grip. It's just the outside that's big and padded.
It's the cushy, just in case so it deflects
in case
off.
You get slashed.
Yeah, you don't want. Yeah, and you're gonna get slashed. It happens all the time. And one last thing before we go. So the United States got bounced out of Copa America with a loss to Uruguay. The United States is probably going to get rid of Greg Berhalter as head coach. I'm imagining. I don't know how long before that happens. I'm surprised they haven't done it already. I watch the U.S. soccer all the time. I love watching soccer. I love watching the U.S. I don't. Let's rephrase that. I would like to watch the U.S. play competitively, but what I watch is not competitive most of the time. The U.S. has these flashes of brilliance where they beat somebody really, really good, and then the next week or the next game, meh, they lay an egg. They just flat out, and it's frustrating to watch because tournament after tournament, I watch them with so much potential. Oh, all these players, look at all this talent. They're, oh yeah, they were the best team in this group. Didn't make it out of the group, and because they just couldn't make it out of the group. They were just not good enough. At times they were good, but they just don't play well enough in the big situations. And I don't know if you can blame that on the coach, but it has been a regression since Jurgen Klinsmann left. Yeah. And Bob Bradley, right? Bob Bradley was the coach when Michael Bradley was the midfielder, the captain, let's call him that, the guy who could set up the world. Michael Bradley was a tremendous soccer player. And he didn't have nearly this kind of talent that's on the U.S. team now playing around him. Yeah, he played with Clint Dempsey. Okay. He did play with Landon Donovan. I mean, those are some good players. And I'm not going to say that he didn't have talent around him, but there is a lot more talent now on this team than those teams which had a player or two. So but he was by far probably the best U.S. soccer player. He didn't score all his goals like those other guys, but in terms of overall soccer player, man. But they had a really good team for quite a while, and then of course it's all gone downhill. And I'm so tired of watching it. I get so tired of watching it. I tell myself that I'm not going to watch it, and then I do. I get sucked right back into it, and it bothers me.
The problem that I run into is that people have this really like catastrophic view of our team, and to some extent it makes sense, right? But you also start to run into, I don't think the world wants America to be good at soccer.
They don't.
There's just one more thing the arrogant Yankees will freaking talk about all the time.
Right.
We already claim world championships in football, and no one else plays that. So I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, it's already well documented in a lot of our big losses. There's some questionable crap. Kevin Ortega, who was the official in this match.
Yeah.
Interesting. A lot of interesting calls.
Yeah,
in this
for
game.
sure.
Or not calls.
Like
all this stuff. Like it's just.
Yeah.
It is beneficial for the world for America to not be good at soccer, despite the talent we put on the field. And the problem with soccer is that it's so dependent on this garbage officiating system that soccer holds so near and dear to its heart, yet loves to frickin' kill and hang them when they frickin' piss off their own teams. It's the most interesting system that I've ever seen of, like, what was it? England a couple years ago, there was an official who got beaten outside of his hotel, like after a match, and it's like, oh, we hate him so much, we're willing to commit physical violence against them, but let's not change anything, because this way we can manage things, we can change things. And I think that it's just, I see it all the time where I watch a game and I go, Americans play a very regimented style of soccer, it seems, and it does not jive when they start going up against some of these heritage teams, some of these bigger teams
Right.
who play the more loosey goosey, whiny, bitchy soccer
Yeah.
that I see everywhere
It's
else.
true. Soccer needs to fix that.
Soccer needs to fix that, or America needs to become the whiniest dirt. I mean, do
It's
what
true.
Mexico does. Kick people in the back of their shins all the time. Start ripping them down by the back of their jerseys,
Yeah.
and then absolutely scream and whine and complain
When
every
someone
time
does
you
it to
get
you.
something called on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Go hard into it or don't, but pick a direction because it's not working in the middle.
It's not.
Yeah. But talent-wise, we're stacked. You're absolutely right. And we've been stacked for a while.
Going into this tournament, the United States was the 11th ranked team in the world. Okay? And just to put this in perspective, 10 teams in Copa America scored more points than the United States in the group stage. So the United States was the 11th best team in Copa America, not in the world, in Copa America in this tournament. So, I mean, come on. So they just they do things, stupid red cards at the wrong time. They try and make these tremendous plays or passes when a simple stop of the ball and a simple pass will do. They try and show off, and it's, oh, look what I can do. No, you just blew that and you give the ball to the other team and they go down and they score. That happens all the time when I watch U.S. soccer, and it's really frustrating. And I get so tired of it. But I'll watch I'll watch World Cup qualifying and I'll watch all that again. I know I will, but I'm hoping that they replace him. You know what? Jurgen Klopp is available, by the way. And not that he'll come, but, he didn't want to do the day-to-day thing with a club. Like, he's tired of doing club every day, playing every, the day-to-day practice and all the things. But a national team, maybe? I mean, you might be able to hire him. But that'd be my bet. That's who I'd hire. I'd lay all my money out there. But, hey, what are you going to do? Anyway, so there's that. I will watch them again. I hate that, but I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah, I will too. And I'll go, what the hell are we doing
here? What the hell? What the hell is going on? All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Nothing that I can think of.
Perfect.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
One thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Did you see this report where like all these where like people who own AC companies and people who own like air conditioning companies and people and like scientists said that the perfect temperature to keep your house for efficiency's sake in terms of like heating and electric bills and things like that is 76 degrees.
Really?
And I was like, go to hell. 76 degrees?
Well,
no chance.
You'll be happy. You'll be happy to know that I'm holding up the thing so you can. I'm holding up the average right now, so you can have your 66 degrees. I mean, I keep it 68 is where I feel comfortable. I'll be honest, 68. I like it cold in my house. I do.
I do too.
68 feels good. When we lived in Yakima and the upstairs was always a little bit warmer than everywhere else, right? Yeah. It would warm up to 70 and I would physically be unable to sleep. 2 degrees.
Yeah.
But I would physically go, man, it's warm in here. And the other day, because this house has no air conditioning, so the other day I come walking in from outside over the weekend. I come walking in from outside and I go look at the thermostat in the living room and it says it's 77. I was like, that doesn't feel that bad in here. because I'm getting used to how warm it is. And I don't like that.
77.
Yeah, 77. Oh, that's not bad. 77 don't feel that bad. And it's warm. I mean, it got in yesterday. It was 82, I think, in here in the downstairs. But yeah, like I said, I've got spot air conditioners, 2 of them, so it'll be cool in my bedroom. That's all I care about. But yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's 78. My bad. 78 degrees if you're staying indoors. You can swipe that higher if you're not going to be there to 85. 85 degrees? No, are you kidding me?
Do you know how long it takes for your air conditioner to cool down your house from 85 to 78 once you get in it?
It says at night, try turning your thermostat to 82 and use a fan.
No, hell no.
To keep the cool air circulating.
That's the other way around. It's the other way around.
82 degree air is hot air. That's like someone breathing in your face.
At night. Well, that's a whole different thing.
These AC experts can. I mean, I never want to go eat dinner at their house.
Oh my god!
You'd walk in, you just immediately be like, oh my gosh.
Your grandpa's house, man. It's always 80. It's always 80 something in that house.
It's just it's insane.
It's too hot.
Our thing at night is we 68 during the day. At night we turn it down to 66 and turn the fan to on, so it's constantly blowing 66-degree air. And then in the morning we get back up, turn it back 68, and turn it back to auto, so that way it stops.
The EPA says that for every degree warmer you set your AC, you can save 6% on your cooling costs. And my thought is I'm willing to pay that 6%. You know what happens? I'm just not tipping someone. There you go. So.
If it, I swear, now the server's got to fuel.
If you guys
somehow this just became some server at TGI Fridays problem.
It became his problem that it's too warm outside.
And I swear to God, if I walk into that TGI Fridays and it's 78
right,
in there,
there's no way. I'm not eating here. You guys are ridiculous.
Not eating here. I think I've actually done that once. I think I've gone into a restaurant. It was like a mom and pop's restaurant. I walked in and went, "Oh hell no! I'm not gonna sit in here for a while."
Right. No, it's bad. Because somebody down here says 77 degrees is perfectly comfortable. No, it's not.
Okay, Grandma, get off the keyboard.
If it's too hot outside, then your AC is not going to cool as much as you want. You're probably whatever. Shut up. I set it at 68 and I walk away, and it's always that way. You know what?
And you're gonna have to repair your AC unit a couple years earlier, but so be it.
And in the wintertime, guess what happens? I don't use it. I don't use my heater as much. I literally try and go as long as I can before I go, oh, shit, it's cold in here. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point. That's the balance. Yeah, right. Because these people who are like 77 is great. They're turning their heaters on. In the winter, I'm opening my windows and turning on fans still.
Right.
I want my house to be 50.
When it gets down to 60, those guys are going to turn on the heat. And I'm not doing that. Hell no. Yeah, it's great. No. This is fine.
Our AC didn't run except in the it has like a setting for just like circulating air, just like just filter things out. Yeah, basically just a fan. Well, other than that, which we would run during the evenings, that way like particulates would get filtered out. Our AC didn't, our unit didn't come on all winter.
Yeah.
Once it started to creep back up above 80 degrees during the day and stay there a couple days in a row, it's like, all right, let's turn this thing on. I don't even think we turned it on until about 2 weeks ago. It was the first time we flicked on the AC.
So I'm sitting here reading all this stuff. The Department of Energy says that yes, 78 degrees. Oh wait, is that what it said? 78 degrees?
78,
no,
yeah.
Where's it? Department of Energy. No, the Department of Energy. Yeah, Department of Energy says 78 degrees. And I'm like, your summer thermostat is 78 degrees when you're at home. But Consumer Reports says the best setting for your central air conditioning is around 71 degrees. And that's way okay.
I could survive a 71-degree house. I wouldn't sleep very well at night. I would be very uncomfortable, but I could survive it.
Right.
I have survived it. I lived in Portland, so I've done that.
And I'm reading this same thing that you read. 78 degrees when you're home. So 85 when you're at work. It's 82 when you're sleeping.
Hell,
and there's
85 when you're... Bro,
everything in my house will melt.
Everything. I've got these Reese's animal crackers sitting right to my left. I don't want to come home to one animal cracker.
Right? I don't want to have to put my peanut butter in the fridge because it's liquid now, right? That shouldn't be a thing. So
in the heat, the oils start to separate.
Right, and it does.
It gets gross.
It is gross.
Just throw it out and buy it.
And that happens at 80 degrees. It doesn't take that much. Anyway, all right, perfect. That's
important stuff.
That's the these are the things you have to talk about because it is super important. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for listening. We're gonna come back next week. We're gonna be available next week. I think we're gonna be
absolutely
available. Okay, we're gonna come back next week. We'll talk about more NFL news, more NBA news, and whatever else we can find. Whatever topics we're running out of them, but maybe Major League Baseball All-Star game. Talk about that. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for listening. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. We'll see you next week.